Hey there, Joshua. How are you?
Not too
Um,
bad.
that is good. That is good. So, welcome everyone to the next event, Introduction to the Governance Challenge, where Joshua Tan will be taking us through the Medigov Challenge. I don't want to really, steal your thunder, so go ahead. If you need anything from me, I'm here to support.
Okay, awesome. Um, so, yeah, I'm a little bit new to AirMeet, at least from the presenter side. So, apologize if certain
No
things
worries.
screw up. Let me see. Okay, can everybody see my chat at least? Okay, hopefully that's there for people. Oh, by the way, so this is I kind of imagine this as like fairly casual. Imagine I'm actually just, sitting at a table. Everyone's just sort of sitting here with me. I know like the air meet is a little bit more presentery rather than kind of like I could Zoom is a little bit more sort of everybody in the same room together. But that's kind of what I would like people to feel like we're all in the same room. So let's just have a conversation. Hey, crypto credit. The so I thought I'd take this time to just like give everybody kind of like an introduction to the Open Web Governance Challenge, talk about like how exactly it came about, and then just give you information about like, where the prize areas, uh, explain some of the challenges, and then just answer questions essentially. Because there are a couple of new things going on, as you probably sort of have noticed if you take a look at the website, which I linked right above, uh, because this entire challenge is being run through DAOs, and in particular through Sputnik DAO, which is sort of the main DAO framework that exists on Near. Okay, so just to get things started. So yes, the Open Web Governance Challenge is basically, it is a track of the hackathon that you guys are all here for. And what we're doing is, trying to foster more governance experimentation. So really like the way to think about governance in this sense is that blockchain itself is a form of governance, right? And like, when Satoshi sent out that original white paper, it was both a technical sort of proposal as well as a social proposal. That social proposal revolved around, how exactly do I design incentives in order to create this decentralized protocol, right? Which is why governance is such an important concept in blockchain today, and in many ways is, um, you know, to a lot of people, it's actually the primary distinguishing factor between different blockchain projects is, how they are governed or how the incentives are designed, right? And of course, it's necessary for any kind of decentralized collaborative project. Uh, Basically, just the point here is that you know if you want people to work together, you need to incentivize them, or also to sort of provide tools to help them coordinate. And that all kind of falls under the rubric of governance, which is about managing sort of collective behavior so that we can achieve collective outcomes. Okay, that said, I won't sort of like spill, I'm an academic, so I won't try to bore you too much with all the sort of theory and the details, but there's a Telegram linked in the website that I mentioned, and I'll also post that later down below, and you'll be able to sort of access that and just ping questions directly on the Telegram. And myself and the other organizers of the governance challenge, Miriam of Medigap and Eugene of CMU, will be there to sort of answer questions, field, just any sort of questions or things you have. There you go. Thanks, Miriam. Okay. That said, so the key sort of like uh, the the governance challenge, like the overall hackathon, runs for 3 weeks until around June 6th. This is the official kickoff. There will be a team building session later today in a couple of hours, as well as a whole series of workshops and events that you can see on the calendar on the website. The first of which is an introduction to Medigov and Policy Kit, starting an hour from now. That will be hosted by Miriam and Amy Zhang, who's a professor at University of Washington. So that covers like the basic challenge. The prize areas, there's one of the exciting things about this is we have 25,000 USD, around 5,000 near, to sort of play around with and to sort of incentivize, development and to reward creative and new ideas by all of you. That prize pool is split into a few different sort of tracks or sort of through different mechanisms, and I'll just explain how that works. So there's the main track, which has $5,000 as the first prize, I believe $2,000 as the second place prize, and then a series of honorary mentions, each worth $500. So the idea here is anything you submit to the hackathon, any kind of project, as long as it somewhere falls in the rubric of governance, and you can always ask us, whether this ultimately falls into scope, will qualify for this selection. So anything you submit that has anything related to governance qualifies for this sort of set of prizes. And in fact, just to be clear, it doesn't actually have to have anything to do with NEAR. It can be sort of like something built entirely on discourse. You want to sort of run a discourse, a governance experiment, like a new voting algorithm or new ways of coordinating or new ways of sort of fostering deliberation via like a forum tool like Discourse, or using a different kind of technology like SourceCred, something that doesn't even have to necessarily involve the blockchain, and that will qualify. So this is completely non-protocol. This is entirely like anything in Web3 counts, all right? So do not feel restricted at all by the technology stacks available to you, whether it's Sputnik Fund or sort of other things in NEAR. If you're more familiar with something else, feel free to use that and to build with that. That said, another way of making sort of getting rewards are the bounties, or what we're calling the kind of the funded challenge areas. So if you go to the website, you'll see a section called challenge areas and bounties. And the ones in bold are the ones that have specific bounties associated with them. And a lot of them, so if you do end up, deciding to use NEAR's technology, whether to sort of investigate DAOs or to build something very specific for like the Rainbow DAO, or to govern the Rainbow Bridge, or I think a really, really exciting problem that's very, very close to heart. I believe, Lenara, I hope you're hearing me because I am presenting right now. Any guys, one of the sort of like really exciting challenges that, I as a member of Medigov, but also working with people like Chloe, people like James and Nima in NEAR, is to really figure out like how exactly to, govern or to sort of like set up the way that the NEAR community fund is currently run. So this entire hackathon was funded by the NEAR community fund, right? And a lot of work, a lot of James and Chloe's work is sort of sourced through this fund, which is like, has quite a lot of money, 5 million NEAR, 1.5 million USD. But that currently, like that grant making mechanism is relatively, it just recently, I believe, got converted to Sputnik DAO. But essentially, it's like 7 people making these decisions around proposals. And it'd be really, really amazing if we could find a way to decentralize that so that, we can, use more of that funding more quickly and more productively, right? To really get the community involved in trying to figure out like how to use some of this money. So if there are proposals, and I believe there's already a proposal, I believe submitted by Aaron, around how to sort of manage and change the way that this community fund is being sort of used, that would be spectacular. And that's just one opportunity to get a reward directly from these bounties. But anything you submit to these challenge areas will also qualify you for the main governance challenge. So you can work with NEAR's technology, earn bounties, and also qualify at the same time for the overall governance challenge prize. So those are just some of the challenge areas. I'll run through them really quickly. There's one on, as I just mentioned, reimagining the NEAR community fund, governing the Rainbow Bridge, and building better DAO frameworks on NEAR. This one specifically around like Sputnik DAO is a relatively new technology, and I'll talk about the starter week sort of incentive scheme for Sputnik DAO a little bit after this. But it's a relatively new technology. There's actually, I think some of you may have just experienced, there's a new entirely new interface that just got released. That's a little bit, still has some bugs in it. It's not totally working. So we're actually still using the old interface for now to actually run votes. But it's a relatively new technology. It's still sort of like a lot of features are missing compared to let's say DAO frameworks on Ethereum. So one of the bounties or one of the sort of challenge areas revolves around, okay, whatever you think could be used to extend the Sputnik DAO framework, or really any DAO framework, or anything related to sort of building new DAOs on Near, that will be really exciting to see. There's another one on developing the Near Medigov plugin. I wonder if Miriam is able to tap in here. I know Miriam's here, but I'm not sure how to add her as a speaker.
Here, I can. They don't have audio at the moment, but
okay,
maybe they can just type.
No, it's fine. I can give a quick introduction. So one of the challenges revolves around sort of connecting Near to Medigov. So Medigov is. So the problems I think is that Miriam's not actually a speaker right now, so she can't unmute.
Oh, I can definitely make her a speaker. So also you can raise your hand, but I'll do that. You can continue, Joshua, and I'll get Miriam up on stage.
Sure. In that case, I'll let Miriam talk about the Near Medigov plugin challenge and the and the policy kit Medigap Prototype one. So I'll jump to the DAO to DAO interactions challenge area while Miriam gets logged in. So this challenge is actually, I think, one of the most exciting ones for me. If you guys were all there for the introduction to this project, or for the sort of like the hackathon introduction, I talked a little about this, but it's based on a lot of really recent research on DAO to DAO interoperability and how DAOs can interact with each other to form an actual ecosystem of communities working together, collaborating with each other, and I like to use the word composing with each other. So forming, there's a lot of questions about like meta DAOs and DAO of DAOs and stuff like that, right? So how do we do that? Well, we need to build like more basic, I think of this as a challenge around like, what kind of infrastructure, more basic infrastructure do I need to foster this kind of like DAO to DAO collaboration? One really simple thing is just like, one-way contracts, right? Let's say Medigov DAO issues a contract for, I don't know, 500 to 1,000 Near for some other DAO to create a website, right? So this kind of DAO to DAO relation, extremely simple. You can technically do it with existing sort of tooling and infrastructure, but as one of the later challenges that I'll talk about goes into, like this contracting sort of experience is actually kind of like very, very, it's first off, it hasn't really been tested. But also it's just like it's not certain kind of things that you would expect in a kind of B2B environment, which is kind of like, approximately the DAO experience, DAO to DAO experience, are not supported in current DAO frameworks and DAO infrastructures. And it's currently just like an underexplored use case, right? Because to be fair, DAOs themselves are really still underexplored just as community entities. So it would be so cool to see proposals and creative ideas around how to sort of get DAOs to interact with other DAOs so that we can build, these like really, exciting and vibrant ecosystems of communities interacting with each other. I'll just mention that there's actually, lots of sort of questions around this front, not just like in this form of DAOs, but also in the form of communities talking to other communities. So like Slack Connect, I don't know if you guys have heard of this way of Slack communities to interact with each other. And there's like a research project I'm sort of starting up right now that's across like multiple universities around how do I get, so there's already bots that help different Discord channels communicate with each other. So linking different Discord communities. Are there ways of sort of taking that technology and really, let's say, creating what I think was like an embassy bot that can connect online communities from lots of different places to each other, whether they be on Slack, on Discord, on Discourse, ways of linking these communities and creating these like community linkages. Anyways, it's a really, really sort of like cool topic that I would really love to see sort of people sort of dig into. So on the question of, cross-platform integrations, that's actually where Medigov steps in, and I will let Miriam chat briefly about that.
Great, thanks. So yeah, there are two challenges related to Medigov Prototype and Policy Kit. So I'll talk about each, and if you're interested in working with either of these, definitely come to the workshop that Amy and I will be doing, which starts an hour after this ends. So Medigov, the first challenge is to develop the near Medigov plugin. So the Medigov prototype is a very, very early stage prototype of an API gateway for accessing multiple different governance tools and platforms. So right now there's plugins for SourceCred, Discourse, Lumio, some other tools, and I made a very simple plugin for Near to make Near calls to contracts. And we made this challenge to get folks who are more familiar. I'm not really familiar with Near DAOs at all. So get folks who really know this space and know how it could be useful to develop a new plugin or work on that plugin. And there's more details in there, and I'll talk about it during the workshop. And then the other challenge area is less technical. It's more about coming up with policies that fit the sort of policy kit data model that are sort of governance policies that apply to those scenarios Josh was just talking about, where you have a community that's on multiple platforms, on-chain, off-chain. They want to use various different governance tools potentially. And basically, we're hoping for people to come up with creative policy examples that are actually useful and would be real world things that they don't necessarily need to work with the current tools that we have right now. So we'll talk more about that during the workshop.
Amazing. So I just actually, so I'll draw your attention because Miriam was just mentioning sort of the Medigov tools like Lumio and SourceCredit and PolicyKit. So we've summarized some of those and provided links down at the bottom under introducing the new tools of governance on the challenge website. So you can sort of browse through those and just think about whether these tools might be sort of useful in different experiments that you plan on running with. So I won't. There's a bunch more challenges that I won't go into. One, I'll just mention the last kind of one on propose your own. So this is a special. Essentially, this is our take on the other category. It kind of reflects the fact that because governance is such a broad area and kind of touches on every aspect of blockchain, there are probably tons of governance-specific problems that we are not aware of, and more importantly, nobody is necessarily aware of. So what we want to do is reach out to all of you who are thinking about projects, or even if you don't necessarily have a specific project or solution in mind, or you don't know how to implement because you're not a developer. We wanted to sort of have this be an opportunity for you to sort of think, you've been participating in these communities. You probably notice things that are just doesn't quite work, or it's this is something that could be a lot better. And what the propose your own challenge sort of opportunity or incentive sort of scheme is just basically an opportunity for you to write up what is this problem exactly, and sort of say, hey, can somebody do it? And that works even if you already have a solution in mind. What we would just want to see is for you to share your description of what exactly is this problem or this opportunity, or to write it up and get an incentive. I believe that's 20 Near just for writing a quick description of what exactly is a problem. And if it's accepted, it'll go on the same place where all the other challenges are, and hopefully somebody in the hackathon or just around will actually take that up, and including yourself. So if anybody takes it, you will be able to get an award of 100 Near. So I think it's just an incentive to sort of write a nice proposal, really communicate this problem out there, because there are so many problems in this space, and just get other people excited about a problem that you're facing, that you're kind of excited or perhaps frustrated by. Okay. So with that, one of the really exciting things that you probably all noticed is that we're running the entire governance challenge through DAOs. So you'll be getting, well, actually, this entire hackathon is basically being run through DAOs. So you'll be sending payout proposals to the Medigov DAO to sort of get these payouts. And what we're hoping to do is to kind of get that sort of that process started to incentivize the creation of Sputnik DAOs. And so the idea is that in the first week, all you need is a 500-word proposal. Send that out, create a DAO using the sort of the Sputnik DAO framework, at which all the links are already on the website. There will be a registration section tomorrow where we'll be there on hand to help, just if you're having trouble. So create a DAO, write a 500-word proposal, and send a payout proposal to the Medigov DAO with the payout target to be your DAO. And also you can use a DAO that you've already created if you happen to have one. So all you have to do is that, and you'll get 30 near just for sort of sending in this proposal. So just an extra sort of little cherry on top to sort of get things moving, start communicating to other people, bring people on board onto a team, and register this DAO, and just get out like a really quick draft. There's no sort of like, it's no problem if like the proposal is still very draft stage. There's no sort of extra content. You don't need slides or video or like technical stuff. It's just a few paragraphs, 500 words on what exactly you're sort of thinking about doing, and a DAO to go with that. Okay. With that, I also just, the last thing I wanted to sort of cover is we've, I won't go into too many details about how to enter a submission. There's a section on the website that just like, you literally just have to copy and paste a particular form proposal on the near discourse instance to submit a proposal and link that in a payout proposal to the Medigov Sputnik DAO. But also just lastly, like we've actually spent a lot of time and work to put together a really nice set of data sets. Now, this is not going to be relevant to everyone here, but I think if there are people, on this call or watching this video, participating in this hackathon, who are coming from more of a data science background, we want to make sure that there is an opportunity and to encourage you guys to participate and to do something, that, I don't know, just like makes you happy as a data scientist. So what we've done is put together a whole bunch of governance-related data sets, and I'll go over those really quickly. There's a bunch of data sets from Near's own ecosystem, including Near's weekly analytics update. If you want more data from Near, just let us know in the if there's like a specific kind of data set you're interested in sort of digging into. Just let us know and via the Telegram, and we will try to get that to you. There's API from Snapshot. There's a data set from GovBase, which is a project of Medigov's, that you can kind of go through and explore that includes a kind of wide variety of DAO-related information. So if you're actually like thinking about like, is this particular governance system that I have, has it already been experimented somewhere else? You can actually just go to that GovBase DAO in the wilds data set, and you'll be able to see a list of DAOs, as well as sort of like documentation on how exactly they're governed. So that could be useful, whether you're trying to approach from a data science perspective, or you're just thinking about, okay, well, how are these other DAOs being governed? Is that something I can import or build on for this hackathon? There's a whole bunch of different data sets from like MakerDAO, Boardroom, DeepDAO. DeepDAO especially has a really good data set. I'll just point out one of my favorite data sets that's still evolving, the crypto governance assessments, governance assessments is a really, really nice resource where it's basically so this is full disclosure, there's something I'm helping sort of implement right now, but it's a survey of basically every significant blockchain project, and it goes into really in-depth into how those things are governed. So if you're trying to make a governance proposal, you want to just upload into your mind, like, this is how governance works across these different blockchains with these different DAOs. Dig into that data set because it has a really, really rich set of questionnaires that people, like really, really famous people, like Nick Carter of Bitcoin, Ethereum, have really put a lot of time into sort of thinking about this is how governance works in these blockchain projects. And if you want to sort of like just level up really, really quickly, just read those surveys, and that'll help you. And lastly, there are some of the more academic data sets from a set, various sets of sort of, say, still online governance data sets. So one source, for example, from Minecraft or from other sort of online games. They're still actually, I think, quite relevant to the blockchain world, especially, you know, like, given that there are things called like metagame, right, in the blockchain sort of world, or raid guild, because there's, you know, every time you talk about blockchain and these design of these incentive schemes, there's a relationship to the way that, you know, we design games now, where in which we gamify certain systems by adding metrics, adding sort of designing sort of very local incentives. So it's another really cool resource for exploring not only, you know, what governance is and, you know, how do I say, a data set for data science to analyze, but also a rich source of insights and possible ideas if you're still thinking about, still at that ideation stage with your project. Okay, I think with that, I will, you know, let it go. If you guys have any questions, any comments, please let me know. I will be on the Telegram for all of the next 3 weeks, and really looking forward to seeing some of these ideas. And also, I just want to give a shout out once again to my co-organizers, Miriam Ashton and Eugene Leventhal. Eugene, I think, is somewhere in the attendees section, but this would not be possible without their help. And also, of course, my collaborators at NEAR, Chloe, Nima, James. It's been amazing.
Glad to help. Thank you so much, Joshua, for giving us that deeper dive into what the Medigov challenge is, but also why it's important, why it's valid for us to be really digging into on-chain governance, how we use it to better and secure systems or make them more efficient for the people that enjoy the communities that we're trying to incentivize here. So as we said, we're going to be ending this session now. If you'd like to continue the discussion, please sit at the tables, continue to chat. This Air Meet session will stay open for the entire 3 weeks of the hackathon. You can always pop in here, use the networking sessions or the tables. And as Joshua was saying, as you kind of go to the governance forums and you get started over the next week, there's incentives just for kind of going up there, getting a Sputnik DAO set up. You can earn 30 NEAR for that, for your just 500 words about what your DAO is for, which is also the same amount of words needed for your first ideation on one of the topics. So potentially you want to have a DAO to govern your generative art project, or maybe you want a DAO to govern part of the NEAR music community, or you'd like a DAO to kind of govern your social token. So either way, you can take one proposal and submit it to multiple DAOs. So, you know, the next stage is, you know, get onto those forums, get started with writing down your topics and your ideations. And if you have any issues, as Joshua said, tomorrow morning there'll be a session for if you have issues with your Sputnik DAO setup. We'll be there to help you out with that. If you have issues getting onto the forum and writing down your topic, please reach out to anybody in one of the councils, and we will all help support you get your ideas out. We're all here just to kind of support you and support each other, and to see how we can support the creative Web3 community. So thank you so much again, Joshua, and see you all at the tables and in the next event in about an hour and a half. Okay, bye everybody.